for a second just to make sure everything's uploaded in the background.
No problem.
That's what the program does.
Okay.
I'm sure we'll be good. All right, Trev's just you okay, Trev? Do you need to ask any questions? Yeah, okay.
No, Trevor just breathes.
Accounts were...
No. Trevor just breathes really heavily next to me. I don't know why he's doing this to me.
I can't hear it. It's not coming in.
It's a real shame. And you can swear as well. Hannah swears all the time, so
Okay.
good.
But as Trev once said, when I swear, it doesn't sound rude because I've got such a posh accent.
It's the accent, When I swear, it's offensive.
Oh, that'll count for me as well then. So we'll just swear away. That's fine. Oh, brilliant stuff. Well, Jen and Trev, thank you so much for taking time out to chat to us. Where do we find you this afternoon? Because you're here, there, and everywhere when I see you on social media, Jenny.
Yeah, we're actually at home. We're at home for 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks now, which, it's good because, we actually pay for this property. So it's good to use it a little bit. But yeah, I think at the beginning of the winter, we start back training and then it's like, another cycle. We're going to be gone half a year. But this is the time of the year that I like. So yeah, we're just getting into the fun bit now.
Because it is such a unique way to live your lives, isn't it? I mean, you're away so much of the time. You've got to plan it so carefully. Of course, you've got your daughter as well to think about. So for anyone who doesn't really, I guess, understand kind of what your year looks like, can you kind of try and sum it up for us?
Yeah, well, we just come back from the first camp of the year, which was just under 3 weeks in Font-Romeu, which we used to start building that base. But it wasn't a complete group this time, obviously, because Keely and Georgia went so late into the season with the AFLOS event. So they were still on the break. So they've literally just started training back this week. So it was nice yesterday to have the majority of people on the session. So yeah, we come home then for a couple of weeks and then we head down to South Africa to make use of the warm weather and the altitude there. I just feel you get much better quality out of the training when you're in that sort of environment. Then we return home. We have about 3 weeks at home over Christmas and New Year. And then we go back down to South Africa again, get a little bit more altitude and heat into the system and prepare for the indoors. And then we come home and there'll be racing here, there and everywhere. We'll have athletes from everywhere, companies and everywhere. It's quite, our heads are just like, where are we going this week?
We have many a spreadsheet, don't we? A lot of Excel documents where people are. And yeah, I was just going to say, then it's back to South Africa. It's like our second home. And we were actually saying we work together. But then this year in 2025, we worked out we've actually spent 16 weeks apart. Wow. So that's a bit crazy considering our jobs are the same, but I think just the diverse and growing needs of the group means that we need to separate more. I think if we probably add up who's been in this house at any one time, it's probably been about 25% occupancy during the year.
Do you find you come home and there's a tap doesn't work and the heating's not working out? It's
don't we?
There's a list of things to do.
The boiler's gone. The washers stopped working. All sorts of stuff. And we're actually oh my gosh, we need to keep up, with these household tasks. But it's the Arabella factor, having a daughter. She's just started school in September. And when I announced I was pregnant, so many people were saying, how are you guys going to do that? Have you got any idea what that means? And actually, we didn't have any idea what that means. But school admin is real, guys. Oh my goodness. We've got odd sock day. What else have we got? Nursery 9 week. All of these things. And I've actually got anxiety. We're going away in 2 weeks' time for 3.5 weeks. And to think that I have to do Arabella admin for 3.5 weeks is absolutely.
Do you have another spreadsheet for Arabella? An Arabella spreadsheet?
Yes. Another spreadsheet. Yeah. Where she's going to be, who's looking after it. Trevor colour codes it. Yeah. All different bags and items. Everything's. There's 2 shirts at this grandparents' house. There's 3 pinafores here. The gymnastics uniforms there. The swim stuff's there. It's pretty insane, guys. I'm basically just a PA.
You are living Hannah's dream, though. Hannah loves a spreadsheet. I'm allergic to them, but you can just look, her eyes are lighting up right now.
Well, it sounds great. I try and get Luke on a spreadsheet, but he resists. But no, I mean it is a really, really complicated life, and you talk about that time apart you spent this year, because I think historically, kind of from my perception from the outside, when you guys started your training group together, it was kind of Trev programming and Jen supporting. But yeah, is that still how it is now, or is that evolving? And yeah, how do you two work together to manage your group?
How do we work together? Well, Jen works on Word and I work in Excel, and it infuriates
I'm
me.
a talker.
Yeah, so I'm like, why have you done it there? Do it on Excel, it adds it up for you. But no, yeah, I still do all the planning. Jen checks and challenges it.
Yes, I do.
And they have to sit there like a child in the headmaster's office, and he's like, no, do it again. Come back. And
Oh, no,
Not
I
good
don't
enough.
know. Like, honestly, genuinely, I could not do what you do. I mean, you know, me and Keely legitimately have had a conversation about what happens if Trevor dies. She's like, do you know what is in that head? No one knows what's in that head.
Does Trevor know? Does Trevor know what's in there?
But no, you were the one who has the vision, you see things. And I feel like you get away with murder, actually, because we're just like, you just coach Trevor, keep your creative brain doing what it's doing, because no one can do that. And I just think I just pick up admin. I mean, yesterday we started back training, and I loved it. I loved it because I was there in the middle of a field, watching the athletes run, getting to see it, knowing what times they would get in, the data, the statistics, and it was great. And that's what I love. I love coaching and being involved. But you're the coach, where I'm your assistant. I take on tasks. I might take a smaller group to altitude because the needs are different from, say, an 800-meter runners, etc. So I step into that role, but I think I more run the team. So I'm kind of sponsors, all the corporate stuff. I work with all the agents, and then Trevor plotting when they're racing, and all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, when I do get to coach and be part of that, like yesterday and training camps, I love it. But I spend a lot of time at my laptop rather than being out. Although at weekends when it's cold and rainy and you're on a hill, I'd rather be inside.
I mean, Jen, you are a natural organizer, and I'm sure, yeah, that. But Trev, like, Jen is so much more than a spreadsheet. Like, how much of an asset is she to what you do and that programming and sort of the experience she can bring from her own career into the group?
100%. She's really valuable in, the girls and the boys in the group love chatting to her because they know she's been there and done it. And, she's felt what the seventh rep of 10 300s feels like. And she's been there and done it, so it is valuable to have, because they look at me and it's just like, well, you don't know that. And I'm like, well, there was a day when I did it, but don't worry about that. We don't need to go into it. So yeah, it's a great team that we've got. We complement each other in our strengths, and our weaknesses are taken care of by the other. So it's good.
I before we jumped on started this call and this interview, Hannah and I were chatting about what we wanted to ask you about, and we were saying that I think if you're a new or maybe a younger athletics fan, you've come in and you've obviously seen what Keely and Georgia and all your athletes have been up to, and you probably know you, Jenny, particularly, and Trevor as well, as the unit that supported them. But for us lot, and of course Hannah even more so because she was competing, like we obviously remember your career and kind of the life before Keely and everything that's happened. And we were just having such a lovely conversation about it, Hannah, weren't we? About sort of like what your career meant to us as well, Jenny. Because I just remember watching it, and for me, like, I remember the first time I ever worked with you. We've done some BBC work together before, and my mum was like, "You're working with Jenny Meadows. That is so cool." And we used to love watching you run, just like with the glasses on and like always at the front. And it just, I don't know, I just want to really make sure if anyone's listening and they haven't gone back and watched all your races, that they absolutely should. Because it just, I don't know, Hannah, if you want to gush as well, because it just feels like it was a really important part of my like athletics grounding.
No, oh, sorry.
That's all right.
No, well, and I think, you think of Katie and her mum being fans, like to be almost alongside you. I don't know if I ever even got to race you, Jen. That was the probably why we're friends, because we didn't actually have to race. We could just share time away from the track. But I think honestly, for me, one of the biggest things is watching you go through, you and athletes like Helen Clitheroe go through racing against a whole generation of Russian athletes that were not playing by the rules. And I remember when I was a youngster and I came on the scene, and I'd hear you guys talk, and I'd hear this pessimism about the Russians, and I'd be thinking, well, they can't all be cheating. They can't be right. And then as I grew up and spent more time in the sport, I was like, bloody hell, they were all cheating. And it was kind of I guess like the stoicism and the relentless kind of pursuit of excellence in the face of that was like totally inspirational to watch you and Trevor do, to know you were on a totally unlevel playing field. Yet all I saw was bloody hard work, day in, day out. Yeah, in despite all that. And I think that was what was really inspiring to me, was just that kind of that effort and that vibe that you guys managed to carry on through that career. And yeah, I feel, and I've said this to you on text message as well, but I feel like the success you two are having now, for me, is like nothing less than what you deserve, what you should have had when you were competing. And I think that I really feel that. I really feel that, for everything you two put into the sport during your career, this is where you should be now.
No, seriously, that is so nice for you and of you to say so. And it's kind of hard because you could really resent this era of the sport if you're not careful. Not many of the athletes kind of have asked me, who I coach, about that. And of course, at the time, you don't think people are cheating because you're like, okay, well, I got a bronze. Maybe there's 2 people better than me. But then you always know like how much you're putting into something. You're training twice a day. Wednesday, I used to do 3 sessions during that day. And you're kind of thinking, okay, how can someone be better? And then obviously when it all came out about the systematic doping, you go through that whole emotion of it like, oh my gosh, I was better than I was. And then, I feel a bit sorry for myself actually now, because all those times I went to bed thinking I wasn't good enough, I wasn't enough. And we changed the plan and we tried to get more professional. And actually I ended up getting injured because I was pushing my body too much that you're not able to do. You can kind of think, not that it's easier now, but you could actually think, oh, I've definitely got more kind of, I'm more confident that it's a level playing field now. I don't think there's any wide scale doping, obviously, in that same thing. And I don't want to say the athletes have got it easier, but I've had to really work on that to actually go, I can be really, really happy for athletes who are more successful than I was. And maybe, it's a whole 360. Like you just said so nicely, Hannah, maybe the success that we're having as coaches maybe makes up for that a little bit.
Do you feel, sorry, Hannah.
No, go for
I
it.
just wondered if you still feel resentful towards it, Jenny. Like, are there annoying moments where you think, oh, what could have been?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've not really felt resentful during my career because I don't think I really thought it was happening. And then almost like maybe I had my head buried in the sand and I was just, concentrating on my own lane and myself. But there's definitely been times where I think, not that the athletes that we coach have shortcuts, but maybe it's just a combination of things. Trevor's 25 years plus advanced in his coaching career, where you were a new coach, and you were trying to search for methods, you were trying to ask people information, and things have just evolved during that time. So, there's things that the athletes do that I did, but there's a lot of things that you've improved over the years and some things that we've dropped completely. So they're getting a better quality product, I guess.
I think you have to be positive about it as well, in that otherwise it'll just eat you up. And maybe it made us the better people we are and the better coaches we are, because when you're not winning the gold, you readdress what you've done, you make it better, you improve in any way you can, and you're striving for that success all the time. So maybe they pushed us, they had a little help somehow, but they were pushing us to be better than we are, and maybe that's why we're getting all the success now. So we have to be thankful for every experience you go through, whether it's good or bad.
Trevor is like me in person. He is he is like that.
It's difficult though, because I'm one of those guys who like to make friends with everyone. Jen goes mad at me. We'll go on holiday and we'll be on the airplane. She says, "No, don't you talk to anyone, okay?" And I'll be like, I'll be in the pool and I'll be like looking at a guy, and I'm like, "Oh, I really want to say hi," and I'm not allowed to. It's
I'm
murder.
like, we've not got any time for the friends that we have, Trev. Like,
I
we
know.
can't service anyone else. Like, just don't be that person.
But
Even
I
in the
used to,
lift looking at people, I'm like, stop it.
but I've been chatting to everyone back in the day, and the Russian coaches that were coaching the rivals of Jen, and I built up a good relationship through hand signals and stuff, because they couldn't speak good English, and my Russian was, it was limited to Kakdila. And but I do remember after Savinova got caught, and the whole system started to crumble. I bumped into the Savinova's coach in, trying to think where it was. It might have been Prague.
Yeah,
And
it was the
Prague in European indoors.
Championships. Yeah.
And he just he's like waving and smiling. And I'm just like, are you serious? Because I knew now he's played me for like a fiddle. He's been almost a friend and a confidant over the years. And yeah, they were doing what they were doing. So yeah, it's disappointing, but that's life, isn't it? There's always going to be disappointments, and you've got to push through and keep striving to be better yourself.
I genuinely don't think you could beat two people that would have such a positive attitude about like yeah, but I mean, but yeah, no, I that's one of the things so I'm saying I really admire that in you guys. And I think there's pushing to find your limits and constantly reassessing. But I think what was heartbreaking for me, Jen, was watching you try and do something that wasn't necessary. Watching you do that. I remember you telling me a session Savinova did of, I can't remember what it was, a number of K reps. You're all sort of under 310 or something like that. And so you were like, I have to try and do that. I have to try and bridge. And, it's cruel things like that. I think that's what upset me, really. It's not just the missed moments that people see on TV and kind of read about afterwards. It's the missed months and years of training and racing. Like that's different. I don't want to keep bringing the tone down, but yeah, that's
the hardest part was London 2012. 2011, Jen missed the final of the World Champs by something like 300ths of a second. And if you look on the stats now from that race, I think there's only 3 girls' names on the list, because 5 of the finalists have been banned or DSD athletes.
I was just going to say, that really hurt me. I literally took my sport so seriously. I literally felt I'd let the nation down, and social media was in its infancy. And, you might get 100 comments, 99 are positive, but you only remember the one bad one, don't you? And especially then, I don't think we were equipped as much mental health. And the week after, I hardly slept. I think it was 5 days later, it was the Diamond League final. And I won the Diamond League. And then someone was like, oh, Jenny Meadows can do it when there's, $40,000 on the line. And I was kind of like, oh God, I'd give every single dollar back just to be in that final. And yeah, do you know what? I think we feel really, you can look yourself in the mirror and go, there was nothing else I could have done. I left no stone unturned. We did everything that we could. And that's all you can do, be really comfortable in your own skin. It's annoying that other people don't play by the rules, but I mean, what can you do at the end of the day? It's just going to make you miserable forever. And I do feel really grateful that I've walked away from track and field with a genuine belief that you can be the best in the world, doing it the right way. And, now I do feel extremely fortunate to be in this situation, because I didn't want to get involved in coaching. It's the last thing I wanted to do. But I'm really, fortunate to be in this situation. And just because I am someone who takes my role so seriously, I just think it's a massive responsibility also to have other people's careers in your hands. And I think Trevor and I do give too much, life work balance. It's not good. We just work so hard and it takes over the whole of our life. But I guess that's how we lived my athletics career, and we're living it that way for our athletes as well. But the really one good thing is they're really grateful. I would have that resentment if they weren't grateful. They see it. They see my spreadsheets. They see me FaceTiming Arabella and she's gone to bed and I've missed her, and maybe the disappointment on my face, and then I don't get another chance to speak to her for another 24 hours. And they know we're away from home. They know the 16 weeks we spent away from each other. So that really makes me not resentful.
It's interesting as well, Jenny. You said a little bit earlier that you feel like your current athletes don't really ask you too much about the Russians and all of that doping going on. Do you think that's a product of the sport having got to a better place, or do you think there's a kind of, I don't know, maybe a lack of awareness because they're younger, they didn't kind of live through that in the way that you two did?
I think a combination of both.
Yeah, well, it's almost 10 years since they've been banned now. So, I think if you think Keely was 13 when they were banned, so it wouldn't be on her radar at that age to think about why they've been banned, why they're not here. So yeah, she's never really gone into it. None of them have they?
No, not really. Like Georgia understands it maybe a little bit more. She lived obviously through a little bit of that. But no, the most of them have to go back and watch grainy footage of me running. I know recently someone, brought it to my attention. Sarah Healy was asked, who would you have loved to have trained through, who was not your era? And I was really touched, actually. I've not even told her that. I know about it, but she said, oh, I would have loved to have trained with my coach, actually. I'd have loved to have trained with Jenny and just seen what sort of training partners she would have been like. How did she go about her training? And I think she actually said oh, I can imagine, she took it really seriously and every rep mattered. And I'm kind of like, yeah, I do. But, we're massive on work ethic. But one of the things I always try and say to them, because Trevor's a joker, Trevor breezes through life, loves every experience, and everything's wholesome and fun for Trev. But, I read in an article recently, I think you called me quite straight-laced. And, I'm actually not, but I have to. Two of us can't be like that. But one of the things I always try and say to guys is, don't be a robot, don't take it too seriously. It is serious. You commit, most of your life to this, but at the end of the day, you've got to enjoy it, because I don't particularly think I did. I think I just thought I've got a talent. It's a big responsibility. And I train predominantly as one of the only females in my training group, and the only, there'd be one, perhaps the odd year, two of us trying to go to a world championship. So it was very much me training with club standard and national standard athletes, being international world class. So I just didn't have this collective group of people with the same ambitions around me. Every single day we're a professional group. We've got, probably 12 of them, all legitimately hoping to make global championships, where I just used to have to train in the evening when Trevor finished his day job, and, just trained at the club with everyone who's finished work, school, uni, or whatever. So yeah, they've just got such a great opportunity and a great kind of team and environment that's been built for them, but very much on everything we've learned during our careers. And you build something that you wish you had. But I'm not jealous. I'm just kind of really glad that we're in the position to be able to use that knowledge, because something that we probably think is quite basic actually isn't, because it's years and years and decades of experience.
No, and I think you talk about, it's so easy to be a very intense professional athlete. It's very, very easy. And I think when you look at what you guys have done with Keely from 2021 to 2024, it looks fantastic. A silver at 19, converting to a gold in 2024. But the pressure and the stress that would have gone into those 3 years, do you feel like you guys were almost perfectly equipped for that, to kind of support Keely through that?
Good question.
I'm interested in your answer.
Well, I mean, we'd face stress and stuff like that, but it was a different journey with Keely. I think we knew she had certain skills, in terms of how to handle herself. So it was about keeping her relaxed as much as possible to let her deliver. And so I think that's my strength, is just joking and laughing. And, that she was, I remember before the Diamond League, we'd gone out Diamond League final when she won in 21, was that?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
we were in the middle of Zurich and we'd been to a restaurant. I said, come on, let's get some scooters back to the hotel. And her face lit up. She's like, I can go on a scooter, even though I'm racing tomorrow. And like, yeah, so we're scootering through Zurich and having a laugh, and she's loving life and taking selfies like they do. And it's just allowing.
You take a selfie, Trev. I've seen you take a selfie.
No, I'll fall off if I try to take a selfie.
Not on a scooter. He just takes selfies, but just not on his scooters.
But, it's about allowing them to be them. And if you know the individual, you know what they need. There's certain members of the group that are very similar to Jen and very, very kind of
straight-laced.
Square.
Yeah, straight-laced, and they don't like my jokes, yeah. But, it's they're into a different. Their attention to detail and preparation is second to none, and so it's speaking to them in their language, and then speaking to Keely. I'm not saying Keely isn't organised, but she likes to relax away from the track, and it's making sure they all get what they need.
I was just going to say a really good example probably was this year in Tokyo. You were all in Miyazaki at the training camp, weren't you? George is doing a few FaceTime calls with me, and we're going through past races because she'd never done an 800 meters at a championship. So, I think I'd scared her to death about the semi-finals. Top two, you don't look at the final, and we're watching them, and she's saying I could do with being in this position, etc. And then I'm just watching Keely, on a TikTok and filming her vlog, and it's like night and day. But you've just you're really good, I guess, at just adapting to what everyone needs, for sure.
Well, one of the things that really stood out to me when we spoke to Georgia, when would that have been? It was a few months before Tokyo, wasn't it?
It's when you were in Montegordo. Is that before British Champs, isn't it? Yeah, just before. So talking August, towards the start of August.
And the thing that really stood out to me was she was saying with M11 that it's not necessarily all about what athlete has the potential and the talent. There are obviously so many of them out there, but who had the right kind of attitude and could fit in this training group, and how much that mattered to the overall then building of the group and the talent and the potential, because you needed the right kind of person and the right kind of fit.
Yeah,
definitely.
I agree with that.
That's the thing I'm most proud of is the environment we've created, and it is down to having the right people in there. There are people that haven't kind of sat well with the group, and they've had different beliefs and so on, and you have to find a way of making that work. If they don't change, then they'll have to go. But on the whole, if we know the people before they come in, and we know if they'll work well with us, then it's great, and they're all just pushing each other onto the next level then. But
and it is like a family. You've got to you're going to work, you want good work colleagues, but also training camps, you're living with each other. It's really tough if you're with somebody every kind of almost second of the day. So we have conversations. I guess people want to come in groups if they see success. So they see success and then they gravitate towards that success because they think, oh, what could that mean for me? And we've definitely had people where we've gone, oh, they're a great athlete. And then they've come into the group and then they might not be the right person, work ethic and or attitude, or, their expectations, or they could be quite entitled. And then you can kind of see that grate on, some of the other athletes. And as people pleasers, which both of us are, then you actually have to go, oh, how am I going to control this? Because it's not great for everyone. And I think we've had to learn probably since, 2020, 2021, like how to have difficult conversations and who's going to have that conversation. And also kind of to keep, hey guys, I'm so nice, and I'm the one.
You HR as well, Jen. You the spreadsheets and the HR.
Well, and for the sake of the listeners, you can't. For the sake of the listeners,
no one can be offended, I think. But I've realised we went on in a retreat recently, and the whole of the time I just kept thinking, oh my gosh, I know what my role is. I'm the protector. So I'm the protector of this little empire or whatever it is. And, I feel like if I was a dog, I'd be like a Yorkshire Terrier yapping or something. I've got this vision that I don't want to be that person.
You'd be Harvey. Your dog wasn't a yap. Yeah. What was your dog called? Harvey.
But I'm like, I really just want to protect everybody in kind of my troop. I want the best for them. I want everyone to have like a good experience. And I guess if something doesn't fit within our moral compass, or somebody's being really negative and it's having bad impact on others, that doesn't represent who we are and, what we are. So I'm glad Georgia has said that, because I certainly would hope they would all recognise that too.
And I remember asking you, Trev, ages ago, it feels like ages ago now, about your coaching ethos. It was sort of a question I was given in an interview, and I'll put words in your mouth. You basically said, create a fun, safe environment, and then you can crack the whip. If someone comes to you and they can feel safe and they can feel positive, that's when you get that physical effort.
Yeah.
And do you still live by that? Is it now more complicated with this big group? Is that part of these dynamics? You have to maintain that so you can keep that kind of ethos there.
Yeah, that's the underlying philosophy. We're asking to do some horrific things in training. Most weeks somebody's being sick at the side of the track, and they go to a dark place quite regularly. And I feel if we have that fun environment around them, then it's easier to experience those moments. Uh, for me, it's about treating humans before you treat an athlete. So I don't see them all as athletes. I see them as a human being. And if that human's had a bad day or a bad week or is going through something difficult in life, then I can't then be cracking the whip and giving them a hard time about their performance in training. It's about understanding where they are, helping them through that moment, and then you can, when they're in a good place, then we can push the buttons and force them to, be give a little bit more. But I've always said a happy athlete will perform well, no matter what the sport is, and it's the same in life. If you're I don't know, an analyst sat on a laptop all day, or if you're working in a big city bank, if you're in a bad place, you're not going to be having a good day and you're not going to get the most out of yourself. So we try and create that environment that allows them to be themselves and allows them to, feel free and be able to express themselves on the track and in the gym, and therefore develop.
When I would love that sort of environment. That's kind of what my coach created as well. But there's plenty of high performance sports environments out there where they don't seem to value that. We would have come across professionals when we were athletes as well, that was seen as such a minor factor, athlete happiness or that safe space. Is that something you kind of grew into with Jen, or was that something that was always that was always just your gut instinct that was important to you?
It was important to me from very young age, and I started off playing rugby league, and there's a lot of banter around the changing room and on the pitch. You've got that camaraderie. You're going through hard times. You're getting your head knocked off in tackles and things like that, and everyone's laughing and joking and whatever. So it helps you through, and I kind of carried that over into my athletics career then. I was always the joker in the team and in the group, and I probably wasn't good enough to be. I trained with a guy called Dave Grinley, who ran 44.47 at the age of 19 at the Barcelona Olympics. And there was a host of other top-class athletes, Craig Winrow, Paul Burgess, Guy Bullock. We had a strong squad, and I probably wasn't good enough to be in there, but I was allowed in because of my character.
Can I just say, being a young athlete at the time, Sally Goodall's Olympic, Dave's Olympics, I was 11. I used to watch that group train and they were like a world-class group, but it was Trevor's group. Trevor was maybe the 9th ranked athlete in the group. Like, how can our group, for example, I don't want to think who's a 9th ranked person in our group, but I certainly don't think anyone would be like, oh, I'm in such a body's group, like over Keely or Georgia or Sarah, etc. Like, it was Trev's group. I feel like you were always destined to coach, probably, or be in a leadership role at some point. And I think some people have just got that natural kind of gravitation, haven't they? Kind of a followership, and I think that's probably been the attraction. Although Trevor hates it will deflect this. For sure.
Well, no, you're like the morale officer, aren't you? And Jen could be HR, you could be morale. But
I remember we were, where was we now? Charles Van Comedy was in charge, and I think I used to get under his nails a bit because, and there was
touch.
one time we were waiting to catch the bus home. I'm sure it was Barcelona. We were waiting for the coach to come and pick us up and take us to the airport, and the championships had gone okay.
I remember this.
And then there was. The
it's
coach
2010,
was
isn't it?
late, and
2010.
Charles was getting more and more stressed because the coach wasn't there and we weren't going to make the flight and all this. And then this moped came round the corner, and I'm like, "Here, Charles, why don't we drag a couple of bags at the back of that?" And he's going, "Trevor, must you always be joking?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do. It's like just the way I kind of enjoy my life, and I don't care. I know we'll get to the airport."
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's some people in administration that like they just turn away when I turn up because they don't want to hear what I'm going to come out with.
Do you think that makes you destined to revitalise administration as well, or are you just going to stay clear?
Well, it's I think those roles are very stressful because you're trying to. It's like herding cats, isn't it? It's a difficult task, and you're trying to get 60 athletes through a process, and there's so many forms to fill in and flights to book, and then people are changing flights and whatever, and so they have a hard time. So I try and lighten their load and give them some banter.
Add to it.
Some of them don't welcome it, and some of them do. So who you can have fun with and who you can't.
But it also, from what you were saying about treating the athletes as humans first, it sounds like you really enjoy like working out what makes an athlete tick and what is kind of in their character. And that must be such a huge part of your job, right? When you were saying, getting the best out of them, creating that safe environment, but knowing who they are as people. And that takes quite a lot from you, I guess, to work that all out.
Yeah, I've always been into puzzles and, playing strategy games and things like that. It's just that side of my brain that really gets ignited by it. So when a new athlete comes along, I'm studying them and working it out and just listening what's happening and then you know what you can do then and what the best way is for us to help them.
Mm-hmm.
I told you, he's always trying to make friends on holiday. He's just relationships, communication. We went on a hike the other day and they set us all off 20 meters apart. And I knew Trevor would struggle. He said he was always talking to the sheep. He was like, "Oh my gosh, I've got no one to talk to." Well, I can quite happily be on my own, for 3-4 hours. But yeah, Trevor would be nervous if he's on his own ever, I think.
I was going to ask you, what's the biggest puzzle you've ever solved, Trevor? It could be a human or a literal puzzle.
Oof. Oh, well, we've tried and failed with a few puzzles, haven't we?
Well, I'd actually say
not to name names.
I'd actually say Keely was still figuring her out. Although you give her an easy time because it's probably been well documented how late she is for things. But you have literally worked out that you just can't contain her. So it's everything. We believe you need a certain skill set to make it to the top. You need to have discipline. You need to be on time. This, that, and the other. She kind of breaks all the rules, but Trevor's studied it, and she does run better with that kind of just allowing her to be fluid and not rigid.
If you try and stick her in a box, she'll implode. But I find that she is later and more disorganized the better she's running. So it's like,
she's got a free pass. It's ridiculous.
So I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna have to put up with that, aren't I?
And we've tried to disprove it. We've tried so many times. We've literally done FaceTime calls. We've seen her cleaning her teeth. Yeah, I'm just leaving, and then it just stresses her. She just could be later and later and later. We've tried everything, but I don't think that's just a constant puzzle.
This is not a reason for the rest of the athletic nation teenagers to become disorganized. So like coaches out there, don't let them on.
Don't champion it.
You can imagine, because my admin and HR, I've just recently done a handbook for the group.
I love this, Jen. I love it.
I have. And there's a rule about time management. And Keely rang us actually before Athlos. She's like, yeah, that agreement, I'll sign it at some point. I saw something about time management in there. Guess it was for me. And it's literally a rule. We meet at 10 o'clock. by 1:15, I've got 15 minutes, that warm-up starts. So the other day, it was 18 minutes past and I put my head in the door. I was like, guys, out. And I can see the nervousness that, some people weren't there, including Keely. I was like, nope, out the door. And when she turned up at 20 past, she's like, I know, not a good start, is it? I was like, no. She's like, well, I am doing a different session than everybody else. I'm not really impacting on them. And I was kind of like, you just added to my day though, because I'm taking your session. She's like, sorry, so we'll see. We do try, but yeah, I had to write a handbook. Of course I did.
I absolutely love it. I'd like, yeah, I want a
I
copy
think
just to...
we might need a handbook, Hannah, because I'm always late and I can never get on the technology that we use, and you're always waiting.
Well,
for
the best bit is when Katie and Rich asked me a question. I'm like, well, if you refer to the spreadsheet, I think you'll find it's
not
on the
even
spreadsheet.
just the spreadsheet. There's a master spreadsheet.
I put it all on one spreadsheet for them. They still can't do it. But you're talking about solving a puzzle, and Keely Hodgkinson, what a fun puzzle. But perhaps not such a fun puzzle in 2025. Like that must have been the biggest mentally to support her and nurture her, but physically as well, Trev. You've got limited, number of footfalls. It's so limited. That must have been the biggest puzzle to get her ready for any track races this year.
Yeah, we were lucky in a way that the championships were so late. So because Tokyo was right at the end of September, it gave us a bit of a longer window to fix things. But then you think you fixed it and you're on the way, and we were literally 3 days away from racing at the Keely Classic, and for something to happen again, it's like, oh damn. So you have to go back to the drawing board. You go through the building process again, and it is about treating the human at that point and not the athlete, and it's making sure she's happy, she's in the right place, and she needs to offload by doing different things, and whilst also doing as much of the rehab as she can possibly do. But then for it to happen again during the
May, wasn't it?
It was May, yeah, a couple of weeks before Sweden, Stockholm, and that was really heartbreaking. And we all did a lot of soul searching, but we picked her back up, and she was kind of adamant it wasn't as bad that time, and but the doctors were saying the scan says this, so you got to take the time off, and so we had to respect them, but in a way we were thinking, it's not as bad, and we were able to get back quicker, and thankfully we had enough time to be ready for Celestia.
I was just going to say, when she pulled her hamstring in May, it's actually the first time in Keely's career. I am jealous, not resentful. I am jealous that she's got an experienced team who have got so many connections and contacts, which we didn't have during my career. We've now got it, 25 years plus of Trevor's career. But, normally...
It's through me talking to people and making friends.
Okay. I'll send them an email, you talk, I'll email. But, every single time she's kind of like, well, it's their problem, they'll sort it. I remember when she first started being coached by us, she said to her mum, she calls her mum Rachel, it makes me laugh. She's like, Rachel, you don't need to worry. That's Jenny and Trevor's job now. And I thought, oh, okay. But, every single time we'll just say to her, all right, go enjoy yourself with your friends, or go to London, do some commercial opportunities. Like, we'll speak to the physio, psychologist, nutritionist. We'll do all of that. But in May, legitimately, I had to look her in the eye and go, don't know. I don't actually know. None of this makes sense to me. And I think that was really scary for her, and maybe a little bit scary for us for the first time, because nothing made sense. Normally there'd be some symptoms and you think, okay, I didn't take that seriously, or this, that, and the other. But, it was definitely, and again, I'm going to commend you, Trev. Me and Trevor are yes people. We don't like upsetting people, but Trevor definitely had to go get second opinions, third opinions. He had to do it for Keely because he owes it to her, and she's still a young athlete. And if there's any sort of, medical intervention that needs to be done, we want to keep that to a minimum, because she's still only 23. And you think, God, I want a couple of Olympics yet. So we don't want her to, have too much interventions into her body. And, injections and this, that, and the other. But it was hard for her and us because there was a time where there was no plan. And, if you've got a plan, it's fine. Even if you don't like your plan, you've got one and you're on your way to this plan. But there was disagreements between what levels it was. Is it 2? Is it 3? We're down the path of 2 and then we're getting told it's a 3. And, ultimately, knowing Keely helped you make a decision, where you kind of overrode one decision and was like, I know it's not that because Keely's got quite a good awareness of her body and I've got to go with what the athlete says. So it was definitely a year that I wouldn't want to coach ever again if I had to have another year like that. It was horrid, to be honest. And then even in Tokyo, when there was 2 medals, a silver and a bronze, and everyone said, oh, we should be so, so happy. I think we just wanted to sleep. I wasn't celebrated at all. And I don't know how much pleasure we've actually got because we just still feel like, oh, wasn't it like Georgia brilliant? She got absolutely everything out of herself. But even in Tokyo, Keely wasn't very well. And we're like, oh, it's just another thing that happened, So
Just wasn't meant to be.
it just wasn't meant to be. But then how amazing that she ran 2 154s and a 155 and still came away with a medal when legitimately
Probably shouldn't have been there.
7 weeks before, and even 3 weeks before she raced and ran 154, you're seeing Georgia and Keely run, and you're like, Georgia's over there.
Yeah.
Like,
So
right over there. Like,
there
how's
was
that happening?
There was a video done by Nike for the Meadow shoe, and it's on YouTube. And we're in Portugal training, and Keely was doing some 600s with Sarah Healy, and Sarah's dusting her. She's like,
Gone.
Sarah's just gone, and Keely's like, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
And then, like, literally 3 weeks after that, she opens up with 154. It's just, but once she's able to do the sessions we know make her tick, she just,
Comes very
she
quickly.
comes very quickly to where she needs to be. So
It's that whole trust the process. I mean,
yeah,
honest to gosh, like, you just had to trust the process on this year.
yeah.
No, and I think there's been bits said about that illness in Tokyo, but it's not. I still don't. If you want to share it, like that she was under the weather there as well. Like that was the sort of thing. Yeah, I was there commentating, and we didn't know that, and then I heard it being mentioned on BBC stuff. But it's mind-boggling to have another blow of bad luck out there.
Yeah, I think she just had something that disagreed with her. So, she wasn't in a great place in the heats and the semi.
Yeah, and do you know, like, I'm watching it and I'm like, okay, the heat, it might have just been the heat. I watched the semi and I'm literally like, what was that about? But because Keely is so relaxed, she doesn't tune into things at times. She's so, like, if that was me, I'd be like, something wrong. Like, I'd be telling Trevor straight away. And then it came out, oh yeah, for like 3 or 4 days, like not been feeling great. I'm like, it's the World Championships. Why would you not mention that? And, I can't remember whether it was a night before the final or it was
No,
a night.
it was after the semi. It was the morning after the semi-final. But like we've been racking our brains. Well, everyone's struggling with the logistics there. You had a 30-minute bus ride between warming up and then going to the stadium. It was just a crazy situation. There was the heat and the humidity, and was you fueling at the right time? Because she just felt she looked amazing in warm up. Like her drills were just outstanding. It was the best I've ever seen, and then she'd get to the track and she just so lethargic and had no energy left. And then we were having breakfast the next morning. And she says, "Trevor, been thinking like I've had this dicky tummy the last 3 days. Do you think that's an part of it?" I'm like, "Yeah, maybe." And so yeah, she met with a doctor, got some tablets and things, and away she went.
Do you know what? I got a new level of respect for Keely. I didn't think I could respect her anymore, but I saw her online, with you, like literally crying. She wasn't the 23-year-old Olympic champion. She was the 19-year-old underdog crying to me again. I was like, oh God, why are we back here? So I just don't know what I'll have on the line. I mean, how's this race going to go? And I'm like, you've only got one skill set this year, unfortunately. You've not got your 5 skill sets. You can normally in Paris, you could win that race however she wanted. I was like, you can't rely on a kick. They're going to out kick you. We've not done no speed work. We've only done run fast, hold on. You know, if you can run 154, it's going to be enough. You know, we did think Georgia could sneak under 155, but that's your only tactic. You'll regret it if you don't do that. You know, didn't really know about Adira and other athletes what they would do, but we're like, Georgia will be coming, so you've just got to go for it. And to see her cry probably 12, 15 hours before, then set off and go through 55 something, I was just like, this woman, she's just incredible. When she literally did not know what she would have until that gun went, and she still produced a 154. I'm just like, she is sensational.
She's got skills.
Yeah.
She's got a few skills, isn't she?
Casey's coaching assessment.
I think she's quite good. I'd keep in with her if I was you. That's just my opinion. What about then balancing, you know, multiple athletes, which of course is becoming more and more of a thing for you guys, and the excellent level that everyone is reaching at M11, but particularly if we look at that 800 with what Georgia was able to do as well, and choosing to go with the 800 over potentially doing the double or going for the 15. How hard is it to balance, you know, expectation and, I don't know, maybe some rivalry as well?
Yeah, I think the rivalry this end of summer, shall we say, because there wasn't a rivalry at the beginning because one of them wasn't running, but I think it's brought them closer together as people, and you know, they have a huge respect for each other. It's an unlikely friendship because, you know, they are chalk and cheese in terms of people, and there's 7-year age gap between them, and you know, George has been through.
I think 9 years actually. But
is it 9?
Georgia wouldn't
Sorry,
thank me for
George.
that.
Don't know. I'm being nice to George. There's only 7 years between them. But yeah, you know, George has worked in the corporate world. She's a high achiever in that side of things. Keely's young, up and coming, and you know, they're into different things in life. But then put them on the track, and they've both got this phenomenal will to win, and this desire to be, you know, to achieve what they can. And yeah, we had to. They both have different needs, so they only did one session together in Japan, on the track, because, you know, Keely needs a bit more speed, George needs a bit more endurance. So we're shuffling like that, making sure they both get what they need, and then for it to come down to 100th of a second between them, it's really, I'm really proud about that, because, you know, they both took a different journey to get there, and yet they've almost achieved the same thing. So it shows that, you know, if I'd given them both the same training, one of them was not going to have done as well, and it wouldn't have come down to 100th because, you know, one's not getting what they need. So it's important that you individualize things, and I think we got it almost right.
Yeah,
It'd be nice to be first and second, but
yeah. Well, we all thought it was happening, didn't we? 80 meters to go. Let's be honest. You know, we all. I was like, this is it, guys. And I was like, oh no, it's not. But you know, there's a lot of things that I respect about, you know, both of them. Being really honest here, if I was Keely, I'd have probably been thinking, I'm being chased here. You know, you've got that 154 in you. And, you know, she did make a comment saying something like, oh, I know I'm going to be great for the champs, but like, yeah, one of my biggest rivals has also got the same team. Like, we always know we peak at the champs. And she's like, well, I know one of my biggest rivals is also going to get it right, you know? So, but again, it was only a comment. And what I really like about Keely is she wants to face the best. You know, one of her biggest things was she was gutted that Ethan Moe didn't, you know, qualify for Paris, because she's literally like, if I win this Olympics and people are saying that, she's like, I have run faster than she's ever run now. So like, could people please, like, you know, respect that? But being really honest, I wouldn't have liked it if I was Keely, if there was somebody else in my group and they were improving every single session. I mean, there's no jealousy, there's no rivalry, but they would be aware of each other's stats. You know, if I was doing whatever session Keely was doing, I'd definitely be looking at Georgia's stats going, oh God, like if I did that session, like that's me maxing out at them times, like she's doing it. But then at the same time, we had a big discussion about what event Georgia should do. And, you know, when we told Keely it's the 800, she totally was like, okay, that you guys, like, you're the coaches, you've got to get the best out of both of us. You know, I'm sure she would have loved Georgia to have done the 15, but we were like, at the time, we thought that was the best choice. And yeah, Georgia just ran the absolutely perfect race for her. You know, we talked about it and said, if I was coaching another athlete who wasn't Keely, whether it was Maura or we were actually thinking Vero, we literally said I'd be at the front with Keely, pushing her, making her have to surge a little bit, and maybe you could just be in the slipstream and, you know, get past him. And it worked that way. But George is a student of the sport, and she put herself in all those right positions. So yeah, it was difficult, but probably not as difficult as we thought it might have been. But that's because of their good nature and them both being genuinely competitive, but in a healthy way, just wanted to get the best out of themselves.
Yeah,
But
a
what
couple of
also
hours later, they were stood singing karaoke together, you know, in somewhere in the depths of Tokyo. So
What did
yeah.
they sing? What was on the cards?
What
Pink
was it?
Pony Club,
Pink Pony Club was one of them, and then
one of our best favourites.
yeah, and then there was what's the other one? Was it?
Oh, please don't sing it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. It was too high pitched.
Name that tune. Answers.
Oh yeah, that one.
that one, yeah, that one, Trev. Yeah.
Reaching for something in the
The distance. Natasha Bedingfield. Christmas is fine.
Yeah.
Feel the rain on your skin. What's that? Natasha Bedingfield.
Yeah, Natasha Bedingfield. Yeah,
See,
yeah.
you
You
didn't
got
even
there.
need to be there, did you?
I feel like I was Trev, to be honest. But no, I think it's I believe you guys when you're saying that, and I think that kind of response to that sort of pressure from the two of them is only possible because of the culture that you guys instill and the way you'd approach that throughout the year. You know, it's not like a knee-jerk reaction come August or whatever. It's teeing it up, and I think that could be the first time I'd ever hear Trevor give himself some credit for yeah. I was like, that was because no, but no, and I think just for my last question, I think you guys have talked an awful lot about how you look after those athletes and how you look after the group and what you've built, but it is a high pressure job. You guys are putting yourself at the forefront of our sport at the very highest levels, and I think maybe if there's any other coaches out there, like, how do you look after yourselves and how do you look after each other in that environment?
It is difficult because you don't have time. You know, you know, I'd love to go playing golf with my friends, but I don't get time, and it is very hard. You've got to find a way to be yourself and turn the noise off, because you know we do get because we have athletes from all over the world. We're getting messages in the middle of the night coming through on WhatsApp and things like that, and it's important to like deal with it when you've got time to deal with it and not.
But my handbook says that we have Sacred Sunday.
Yeah.
Although, Sacred Sunday, and a few people have read it because they've named it Sacred Sunday. Although we're on camp 6 months of the year and lots of competitions are on Sunday, so maybe there might
They have a pass those days if they're racing.
Yeah, I'm thinking we might get 10 Sundays a year. If I'm lucky.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a semi-sacred Sunday.
Yeah. No, in all honesty, we don't do a great job. And I think as coaches, you put everyone else first and not yourself. Part of the reason we went on the retreat the other day was we were also thinking about ourselves and, you know, taking time out. And you have all these plans when you're there. You're like, yeah, I'll definitely do that. And then you slip into bad habits. I think it's good that we do work together because one of us can be really stressed, usually me, and then Trevor will pick me up and do something, or vice versa. And I realise
not physically.
I have seen that though. I've seen you pick Jen off the track before.
But then if you're really like tired and on the ground, like I just like step up and be like, oh, you know, forget it. Like, don't go and do that. Like, I'll go and do that. So I think we do it between us.
Was it last year I was on camp and I came down with tonsillitis. And so I had
the worst week of my life.
I think I had about 3 or 4 days in bed where I didn't go anywhere near the athletes. And you were furious when
I was like
having to run from one session to the next.
Because, you know, a lot of our sessions are really bespoke and I'd be like, why would you do that? Why would you like have that session with like 5 things going on? And like normally there's 2 of us arguably you do 4 and I do 1. Now I've got to do 5. And then it's at the end of it, I've then got to, leave that tempo session, drive to the track, do that. I've literally come back, got half an hour. Now I've got to go to the gym, and then I've then got to download all the stats, right? Do it on one of Trevor's Excel spreadsheets. And then, and then I've got a meeting with an athlete. I literally, maybe if it was only 4 days, it felt like 2 weeks. I said to Trevor, I generally don't know how you do that all the time. I'm definitely the assistant for a reason. I wouldn't want to do that the whole time, but yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, isn't it?
It is, but that's the problem we have is that coaches are very giving. They want to help others rather than themselves. So we very rarely look at ourselves and say, well, what do I need? 3 weeks in Ibiza on a beach would be great, but it's not possible in our world of work. So yeah, it's just finding times when you can relax and switch off and try and get some peace.
And this has been one guys. This has almost been like therapy. So
your bills in the post, guys.
yeah, no problem. It was worth it.
Well, on TripAdvisor straight after this.
Oh, we're honoured to have helped. Maybe next time you can just slip us a little bit of inside info for our commentaries as payments. Got a deal? Oh, guys, thank you so much for taking so much time out of your day to speak to us. It's just been so much fun, as Trevor would like to say. It's been great fun. We worked through a few puzzles, had a great time, and of course, best of luck for obviously all the trips coming up, but the new season starting, all the training going on, blah 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 blah. It's just been great. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for having us, guys.